7:01 p.m. I would ask everyone to stand as the presentation of the colors by Boy Scout Troop Number 1.
Color guard attention. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting. I'm Damien Massey from Boy Scout Troop 1, which is chartered by Westchester Parents and Teachers for Children. It's an honor to be here. Please rise for the presentation of the colors and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and the playing of America the Beautiful. Color guard forward march. Color guard halt. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Color guard post the colors. Color guard, honor your colors. Color guard dismissed. Thank you. Please be seated.
About a round of applause for Troop 1. Ms. Sherby, would you please call the roll for this evening?
Trustee Celestino.
Present.
Trustee Calcagno is absent. Trustee Perry is absent. Trustee Rita.
Present.
Trustee Stecker.
Present.
Trustee Yorkovich.
Present.
And President Blumer.
Present. We do have a quorum this evening. Thank you for everybody that's here today. Item number 5, we have a couple of presentations. Let's see. Our first is an honoring of the retirement of Fire Captain James DeBoer, and I see James is here as well. I see all the firemen are here today, it's your roast. So. Get the face to Trump. Oh, that's great. On behalf of the Village of Westchester, we're honoring your retirement. We're presenting to you Captain James DeBoer, the Westchester Fire Department, in appreciation and recognition of your 30 years of professional service and dedication to the Village of Westchester and the protection and safety of our citizens. Dated November 2nd, 2015, signed by me and all the village trustees. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all the hard work and help over the years that you've done to the Village of Westchester. I remember you as a young firefighter and as you ascended to the rank of captain, and we wish you the best in your retirement as well.
Just to say a couple things real quick. Jim's here with his wife, Jeannie tonight, I'm sorry. Jimmy started with us back in October of 1985, promoted to lieutenant September 2003, and made captain in September 2012. He's been a fire investigator for the department, Jimmy is shortly before I got hired, I actually met him and a firefighter who left us early in his career, Dave Farley, local establishment, we'll just leave it at that. And he kind of filled me in on things, and I know he kind of filled some excitement in me, and I'm looking forward to joining Westchester, and I've been happy, and look where you put me now. So, but it's a goal of every firefighter to retire standing up, upright, and healthy, and you've done that. And now, hopefully you'll make the most of your retirement and that pension you worked hard for. And I know you'll be missed. You've been great with the guys, a great mentor to everybody, and trained the guys and done really well over the years with everything. Jimmy's definitely a humble one. Normally we have cake and coffee for the village and area departments. He respectfully declined it. Normally that's when we give the retirement badge. So I'm presenting him with this retirement badge and wallet tonight. Instead, we'll still have a nice little shindig for you away from everything, but carry that with you, and our doors are always open. So thank you. Thanks very much.
All the firefighters, certainly step up. Yep, you're a firefighter. Can't get away that hard. Thank you once again. Thank you. Looks good. Is there a Patrick Show watching the house? Step up. With every retirement, there comes a promotion, and we're pleased to be promoting you, Patrick, this evening. You rank as captain. With that, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and say your name. I, Patrick Earl, solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States. And I'll support the Constitution of the United States. Constitution of the State of Illinois. Constitution of the State of Illinois. Faithfully discharge the duties. Faithfully discharge the duties. As a captain.
joined us in January 1990. He was previously reported in the fire department. He was promoted to lieutenant in May 2010. He got his fire prevention officer certificate in 1997. Attained on his own his fire officer 1 and his fire officer 2. He completed in 2011. He has a bachelor's degree in fire science management from Southern, and he's done really well as a lieutenant, and I'm expecting bigger and better things from him, and really excited about it myself. So, I think Jimmy, you did a great job, Jimmy, but now that you're going I got fresh blood. I can start throwing more things at him now. Jimmy always used to do it, I'll tell him so. But I'm looking forward to it, and congratulations. He's well deserved. Thank you.
Certainly with a promotion from lieutenant to captain, there becomes a vacancy in the lieutenant rank, and I'd like to ask Michael Ducey to step forward. And he is going to be promoted to lieutenant.
I, Michael Ducey, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and faithfully discharge the duties
As a fire lieutenant for the village of Westchester.
as a fire lieutenant for the village of Westchester, in the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations to you, sir. Introduce your family.
Margaret, and my daughter Christine.
Couple little things about Mike. He was hired in 1998. He came from Northfield Fire Protection District, as well as he was actually a contract medic with us for how many years? 2.5 years. So he was working in Westchester as one of our paramedics when we had our contract service here. So we knew Mike before we were stuck with him. But, no, I don't mean that. But he actually, again, he's gone out on his own. He's just gotten his fire officer 1 certification. He's just about to finish his fire officer 2 provisional certification, which after that he's got some practicals that he'll have to obtain over the next year or so. So he's out with the fire officer 2, which state doesn't really tie it for rank, but fire officer 2 is kind of the equivalent of a captain. It's a level of training, so he's already getting himself ready for that next position without that. But he's also one of our newer fire investigators, and he's also a nationally registered EMS lead instructor too, which is a big thing to help us keep up with our EMS training and develop our EMS programs for our own firefighters, as well as he's also an instructor over at Oakton. But Mike, again, big things for you. Really excited to have some fresh blood to start throwing some projects at you and some bigger responsibilities, and can expect a lot out of you as you make lieutenant now and looking where you can go. So congratulations.
appreciation dinner for our volunteer groups today, which are certainly represented by Troop 1, Troop 73, Boy Scouts, and also a young lady from school that has done yeoman's work helping us with our electronic recycling and other projects that we have in the village, showing the spirit of help for not only senior citizens, but others that reside in the village of Westchester. So we handed out some certificates a little bit earlier, but as I call your name, would you please stand up and be recognized by the group? Leah and Aiden Walton, please. Ed, Gail, and Eddie Coliani. Johnny, Jimmy, John, Debbie, and Abby Milas. Jacob Campos, the flag bearer. Jeannie, Bill, and Patrick Gundry. Matt Penny. Damian Massey, our reader. Chris and Jean Tam. Jesus, Fabian, and Olga Valdez. Nathan and Jorge Estrada. Duran, Deborah, and Melvin Brown. Last but not least, Alexis Connor. This is really held everybody together, right, Alexis? Again, thank you from not only myself, but all the trustees that you see behind me, and all the residents of the village of Westchester for your help this year. Thank you very much.
Any other presentations? Yes? No?
No.
Maybe? Okay. Item number 6, our,
We're going to take a brief cake break.
oh, it's cake break before we go into public comments.
It's a
Okay.
party today.
Sorry about that. So we'll take a little bit of recess. What are we at, like 7:20? For cake and coffee, please.
Oh, yeah. From the Kings. Yeah.
He wound up in Grand Rapids.
You ready?
I was in there.
Okay, I'd like to reconvene our meeting. Looks like it's 7:37? Is that about right?
7:30.
38.
7:38, okay. Okay, our next item was public comments and questions. To give as many visitors as possible an opportunity to speak, and in the interest of adjourning by 9, please limit your comments to 3 minutes in length unless further time is granted by the board for active or general matters. We'll see if we can answer anything. So if anyone would like to step up and address the board, now's the time. Going once.
The doctor's not here tonight?
No.
Going twice.
No doctor.
3 times. Okay, we don't have a public hearing, I would
We do
imagine.
not.
We don't? All right, item number 8 is the approval of the record of bills ending 11/5/15 in the amount not to exceed $855,349.42. The approval of minutes of October 27th of the board, the 27th of October Committee of the Whole, and October 27th Executive Session, all 2015. The other is the approval of departmental monthly reports from Community Development, Fire, Police, and Public Works Department. Does anyone need anything pulled from that?
Record of bills?
Okay, under A. Anyone else? If not, is there a motion to approve B with all the add-ons and C and all the add-ons as well?
So moved. Second.
Carl and Tom? All those in favor of approving B and C, say aye. Aye. Any opposition, say no.
Sorry, we need a roll
I
call.
went to roll call, I'm sorry. Roll call, Sherbs.
Amy Speed Lane.
Trustee Celestino.
Aye.
Trustee Perry is absent. Trustee Rita.
Aye.
Stecker.
Aye.
Trustee Yorkovich.
Aye.
President Bowie.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number A, approval of the record of bills ending 11/5/15 in the amount not to exceed 855,349.42. Motion is second for approval.
So moved.
Tom and Carl. Nick, you had a question, sir.
Yes, Mayor. In the, in regards to the GNP bill, with, what is this? In the ordinance, it states 338 LED streetlights would be repaired, but in the bill, we're billed for 405, and I was just, I never got an answer as to where those other poles came from, which number was wrong, or,
Well, Mr. Lewis will
Robert, do
explain.
you have some commentary on that question?
Yes, I do.
okay.
We looked at that bill, and there's going to be a number of invoices that you'll see for payment. That particular one is for install, and on review, those numbers aren't exactly correct. So what I've asked Finance Department to do is pull that invoice. I called Kellenberger Electric and said that there's some mistakes on the invoice, and they're more than you observed as well. And we had been holding 25%, so my understanding was we could hold enough back to resolve all the differences, but I should have not let any of them go through. So we have the install portion from Kellenberger. They've invoiced us for that. They also invoiced us for some additional work, which was fuse kits and ground rods. We'll also see another invoice for the parts. Kellenberger did the work to install. They invoiced us for everything at the base, and the second invoice for everything where they have to use the high ranger to get up on the light. And then G&P is going to invoice us for the parts.
What's
So
the
what
total?
I need to do is put it all together for you to see.
What's the, I mean, do you have any grand total of how much this is even costing us? at the
That's
end
going to
of the
be
day?
about $50,000, of which about $10,000 is recoverable, we think, because it's related to the outage in Circuit A, which is up in Sherby's area, where we had the Commonwealth Edison power line come down and fry 18 lights. Part of the discrepancy in the numbers is that I didn't have those 18 as part of this work because we weren't quite sure how we were going to handle that. But as it turned out, all the other prices we got for fixing those lights were significantly higher than what Kellenberger and G&P were going to charge us. So I decided to add those 18 to get them repaired and get the lights on, and then we would pursue a claim with Commonwealth Edison later for recovery of all of our costs. So part of this discrepancy is the addition of Circuit A into that work. That doesn't cover the whole amount of numbers. But I will have a report for you on what exactly was done, where it was done, and the total dollar amounts, rather than doing it piecemeal. So we pulled that off for payments, and we're going to hold that. And I informed both GNP and Kellenberger that the invoices have to be correct. And late this afternoon, I did receive what I have been requesting for several weeks, is the log from the persons in the field that tell me exactly what they did. Because I required them to keep a log of all the work done and where it was done. So now I can review their invoicing with the work that was actually done.
It's just ridiculous that you have to redo. I mean, we should be able to trust these guys, and
Now,
the
part
whole
of the-
thing, it just is aggravating every week. And just for aggravation purposes, could we get a copy of the original GMP, the board sheet, drafting it up, like talking about how much money we were supposed to save, and the original proposal and everything like that, and then have a running total of how much this has cost us to date, like with everything, from purchasing them to all,
The
fixing
outages
everything.
and everything.
Yeah, everything. I mean, I don't need to know how many fuse holders for that, but just, I want a grand total from what we purchased and how much more we've had to put into it, and then what we were supposed to save initially, just
Total cost to date
everything.
from
Yeah.
initial purchase and the amount estimated that we would have saved.
Correct.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Because I think, there was, I think it was a 3.5, 2.5 year payback that we would be saving. So it would be nice to know if now we're at 5,
20.
7, 9,
Yeah.
or whatever the number is.
It's just hard to follow when there's always different invoices, like where are we at with this now?
Well, as you know, we had difficulties tying down how many lights we even had from the get-go and in the beginning. We always had a different number coming around, and we should have had an absolute number of what we started with and what was out. So, but as I understand it, 18 out of the 22 that are added to the 405 here were the ones in Sherby's neck of the woods that we have an insurance claim. I know you were working on that with ComEd. I believe we have a meeting with them this week.
Tomorrow morning at
Tomorrow.
9.
So that, certainly that topic will come up, and make sure that paperwork is filed appropriately at, tomorrow at the latest.
So is this invoice pulled then?
This is Pope, we're not,
So,
There's no for clarification, there's no GNP bill.
It's Kellenberger.
Kellenberger.
it's
But
Kellenberg.
you've got a Kellenberger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's what I'm beefing about.
The
So-
contract with GNP, we had them for insurance and for warranty purposes. Kellenberger is a subcontractor
Correct.
to GNP, but they asked if they could bill us directly. So that's why you see that invoice from Kellenberger.
I
as
thought you
opposed
said
to GNP.
Kellenberger had done some other work on another project. So is Kellenberger supposed to be pulled from this
Yes.
bill? Then that motion has to be made to approve the bills.
the exception.
The exception.
Minus Cullen.
Minus Kellenberger.
$60
Yeah.
less.
Okay.
Okay.
The maker of that motion.
So we have Tom and Carl that made the motion to approve. So we're amending that to eliminate the Kellenberger bill for the amount of
$30,060.
$30,060. So with the exception of that particular bill, are there any other bills that need to be talked about? If not, there's a motion and a second on the floor.
And you've got the consent of the mover and the
Second.
seconder, correct?
So moved. Yours,
It was
yes.
Carl.
And Carl?
Thank
As well? Okay,
Great.
all right.
Was that 30,060 or
Thirty-
No,
30,060.
30,060, yeah,
Oh,
060.
$60?
Sherby, please call the roll.
Trustee Celestino,
Aye.
trustee Rita,
Aye.
trustee Stecker,
Aye.
trustee Yorkowicz,
Aye.
trustee Huber.
Aye, motion carries as well.
Thank you.
Item number 9 on our active agenda, we have a resolution providing for the submission to the electors of the Village of Westchester at the general primary election to be held March 15, 2016. A public question as to whether the village should become a home rule unit. I know Nick had proposed this with the concurrence of the board. I think we talked about it at the last committee of the whole, if I'm not mistaken.
I think we had a manager's
Yes, we did.
report on it, wasn't it?
We had talked about this in a previous meeting, and it was brought up under information only at the last meeting that, I believe it was under information only.
Okay, can we just have a motion
Motion.
to waive the requirement?
Meant-
If 5 people vote in favor of that, then we're.
Motion to revoke.
Okay, is there a motion and a second
Second.
to waive the requirement? So we're
Motion.
Nick, so Nick and Tommy?
Mhm.
Sure, that's waive the COD requirement. Thank you.
The roll, please. Sure.
Trustee Rita,
Aye.
trustee Stecker,
Aye.
trustee Yorkowicz,
Aye.
trustee Celestino,
Aye.
president Huber.
Aye, motion carries. Now, a motion is second to approve the resolution for the submission for the March 15th public question.
So moved.
Nick? Celeste?
Mhm.
Any other discussion? If not, Sherby, please, the roll.
Trustee Stecker,
Aye.
trustee Yorkowicz,
Aye.
trustee Celestino,
Aye.
trustee Rita,
Aye.
president Huber.
Aye, motion carries. Item number B, a resolution urging the state of Illinois leaders to release non-general fund revenues payable to local governments. I'm not sure if we need a motion a second to waive, but I brought this up, I I think, in an email and not
Yes.
at the
So
board
moved.
level,
Same
so
thing.
So moved.
To waive the committee of the whole.
Oh,
Second.
Tom and
I'll waive
Celeste.
the committee of the whole as well.
Roll call, please, Sherman.
This is to waive the committee of the whole, this
Yep.
vote.
Aye.
Trustee York?
Aye.
Trustee Saraceno?
Aye.
Trustee Rita?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Main question then?
Yes, the main question is the resolution urging the Illinois state leaders to release non-general fund revenues payable to local governments.
Motion.
Carl and Celeste? Roll call, please.
Trustee York?
Aye.
Trustee Celestino?
Aye.
Trustee Rita?
Aye.
Trustee Stecker?
Aye.
President Hughes?
Aye, motion carries. If you recall, I did receive an email from Dave Bennett from the Mayor's Caucus, Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, which I sent to you and sent some comments back regarding my thoughts and feelings reference to the delay. I'm pleased to announce that I received this email just prior to coming into the meeting tonight, that the House passes House Bill 4305, the release of municipal funds, with an overwhelming bipartisan vote, 115 yea, 1 nay, 1 present. The Illinois House of Representatives passed House Bill 4305, which authorizes the state to release specific funds, motor fuel tax, video gaming fees, casino fees, 911 service fees to local governments. The bill also addresses the distribution of Illinois lottery winnings. The bill's primary sponsor, Representative Marty Moylan, Democrat 55 in Des Plaines, worked closely with the IML on this legislation and presented all the letters and resolutions we received during his floor speech. These are the letters and resolutions that we've been sending, and I believe we have one additionally on our docket for this evening. Also, House Republican leader Jim Durkin of Western Springs encouraged bipartisan support during his floor comments, and Governor Rauter indicated his support for various statements throughout the day. So it's now off to the Senate. They need to approve it. There was some commentary that they may be in session, they may not be in session. That hasn't been confirmed or denied. Hopefully they will pass this as well. It looks like the governor will be signing this based on what I'm looking at here, and at least some of the monies that are due to us will hopefully be received in short order. So that's kind of a positive, just to put that into the record. Item C is a motion to amend the schedule of village board meetings for the month of December. I'm not sure we talked about this as well, so is there a waiving of the cow for this?
So moved.
Tommy and Celeste? Waiving the cow requirement for the motion to amend the schedule of the board meeting. Sure, be the roll, please.
Trustee York?
Aye.
Trustee Celestino?
Aye.
Trustee Rita?
Aye.
Trustee Stecker?
Aye.
President Hughes?
Aye, motion carries. And then a motion, a second, to approve the amended schedule for the month of December 20. Are in
What is
effect doing what?
We are planning on canceling the regularly scheduled meetings for the second and fourth Tuesday, and have one consolidated meeting on Tuesday, December 15th.
Okay, so the new meeting date will be Tuesday, December 15th?
Yes.
15th, and that will be at 7 o'clock. Does anyone have an issue with that?
Which is the third Tuesday that month.
Third Tuesday, yes. Mike, you can make that one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sure, be the roll, please.
Trustee Celestino?
Aye.
Trustee Rita?
Aye.
Trustee Stecker?
Aye.
Trustee York?
Aye.
President Hughes?
Aye, motion carries. Item number 10, our manager's report. Janet.
Okay, just a couple of things this evening. Would like to salute all veterans in the village. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, and the village administrative offices and police and fire will be open for business as usual. However, we will not have any public works services tomorrow. Also wanted to mention that President Pooley and I went around looking at all the nominees for Christmas trees yesterday, and we have selected a winner for the village's Christmas tree, and the honor is going to the Neisler family of 2323 Stratford. That tree will be cut down and installed in front of Station 1 next Tuesday. So Chief Adams is very excited. The last thing I want to mention is a very fond congratulations to our own President Puglia and his lovely wife Maureen on celebrating 30 years of marriage yesterday.
Wow,
So I wanted that to be on the
amazing.
record.
She's a
she's
saint.
amazing.
Has she been
We
canonized?
celebrated it so much that she left for Urbana on the date, so.
So congratulations to Sam and Mo.
Canonized.
And that's all I have for this evening.
Crazy. Okay, Michael, anything?
Just a couple of housekeeping items. The resolution that was passed this evening for the question on home rule, I will need a certified copy of that resolution. I have to file it with the Cook County Clerk's Office. There's a deadline on it. The sooner the better. We'll make the deadline, but we have to have it filed to get it on the ballot. Secondly, switching the dates of the meetings in December means that we will need to pass our tax levy ordinance no later than the December 15th meeting. So, assuming we're going to put it on that agenda, and we should be good to go. Lastly, I'd just like to thank any veterans, not in the audience, perhaps in the audience, one person, two people look too young to have
Soon to
been
be
veterans.
veteran.
But thank you for your service. Anyone listening out there?
Mhm. Thank you, Michael.
I was the real audience.
Board members, Nicolay.
Lots of stuff. From the, we were at the National League of Cities. There's a lot of good information. Some of this information I'm just going to simply pass along. A few of the hot topics that we thought would be really nice to see implemented. There was one in particular with the sidewalks, where they actually shave the sidewalk down and then they finish the concrete, so it doesn't look like, our grader, it looks like it's been chopped up, where they just do this, and it's $50.
Trip hazards.
Yeah, any of your trip hazards. So if, oftentimes when we have to replace the sidewalks, we have to go like one on one side, one on the other, or you're having to do multiple. These, we watched a video, it takes them, was it 15 minutes or something like that?
Right, and the company was willing to come out and demonstrate it too.
And do several for free to show us
It was
how
really
this
cool.
works.
Yeah.
And at $50 a pop, and I think we're paying about, right now, 150 a square, or what we've been paying is 150 a square, and given the fact that you have to do multiple squares at once, we can probably cover a much larger area. Our money could go a lot farther if we look at this type of method. So, it doesn't cost us anything to have these guys come out and show us what they got. So that was one of the things. Another was this alternative claims management. This, once again, we like free. So this was, this doesn't cost the village anything, and essentially what happens is if we have a squad car that's involved in an accident, these guys, they come up with a cost associated with how much it's costing the village for that vehicle to be down. Not just the damages, but down and out of service, and they have a pretty good collection rate for that. So that was another thing that we had spoken to. This I really liked. It's called OpenGov. I've been getting 1,000 emails from them leading up to this anyways. This is kind of like, it's about as clear as day as you can possibly get with your budget as far as transparency goes. Similar to like what we were talking about with the GMP bills and everything, like, we get these bills, we just get a hard copy every month, but you can't actually tell a tally, as to like how much all these things are. And for a budget our size, it's about $6,500 a year annually, and you could pretty much, we could make it as easy or as difficult as we'd like. Some towns have, I think Elmhurst has it, Glen Ellen has it, Glenview has it. There's several suburbs right around here that have it. Some just give access to their the basic financials. Some of them, they can open up and look at every single bill. And they can, if they want to look up GMP, it'll do a search of GMP fiscal year 2015. And it'll pop up every single bill that's been calibrated to GMP. So it's pretty neat. It was easy to follow. It would make a lot of, I mean, it would be a lot easier for us when we're looking at bills and we're trying to figure out things and ask questions. And it was really sharp. And I don't know if we have software that we currently use, that staff currently uses that maybe does the same thing that we don't have access to. But this is something that they said that to teach staff how to input the everything takes about 10 minutes. They said usually they spend the first month trying to make sure everything is coded correctly, and that's kind of a pain. But they said that once they get you online, you could either send them the stuff once a week, once a month, or they'll be willing to train the staff where they can input it. And it was really sharp. You can make all the different charts. However, if you like pie charts, you can make pie charts. You like other types of graphs, you can make that. So that was really sharp, and that's something I'd really like to have us look into and possibly budget for in the future. There was some, I'm gonna give this to Jimmy at the end of the meeting. This is Texas A&M. We had talked to them previously in other ones, and they're offering a slew of classes now, free of charge, and they're incorporating classes now for public works, law enforcement, senior officials workshops, that they'd be willing to come out and do these classes free of charge for us. NIPSDA's been getting a ton of money from the feds lately, and this is the same thing. These guys are doing it, but they're on NIPSDA's handling it at a local level. These guys are handling it at a national level. So they've got a lot of money, and they're willing to come out and train everybody. A couple other things. We had talked, and I'm kind of torn on this one. It's called Secure View. We had talked to them, and once again, this is free. They deal strictly with the banks, but when you have a vacant home, instead of it being boarded up, I had previously mentioned about, kind of like Cicero does, where if the windows are black from the street, it doesn't look like, you can't really tell the boards all the time. But this is actually like a clear plexiglass that you can't break. I mean, they showed demonstrations of the fire department to get in there. They essentially have to cut the plexi. But aesthetically, it doesn't look like a vacant house now. And then for safety reasons, law enforcement can look in there. They can see if people have been in and out of there, if there's evidence of squatters and stuff. And these people deal directly with the banks. We would just have to, if there's an ordinance or whatever the case may be. So that was kind of interesting, and I'll let Chief Carpino and the building department maybe render an opinion on that. And then lastly, I sit in on some seminars about public safety and crime prevention. A lot of this stuff is numbers. They're just crunching numbers, kind of similar to what we get every 2 weeks. And they're doing a lot of these charts where they're tracking all the types of crimes, and they have this company that does it for Seattle, and they show you all this fancy stuff. It's a lot of data, but it's also very, very expensive. We were doing something similar before, where we were plotting some of the property crimes and trying to see if there was any trends. And I know there's mixed feelings on that before, but it was pretty sharp, and they were showing how it has been effective, and it helps identify goals for these police departments that they're doing it with. And they did Dallas, Seattle, some of the larger cities that have the funding. But it may be even easier to do, though, because we don't have the volume, and it wouldn't be as difficult to manage. But so there was a ton of good information. I know last year was kind of like, seems like it was the same stuff as the previous year. But this year there was a lot of new information, and we really got a lot out of it. So, and it was free or cheap, which we like.
Thank you.
Yep.
Celestine.
Well, thankfully, Nick must have lost some of his handouts so I could say something. We found it very beneficial. We pulled a lot of information out of there. One of the things I wanted to mention was there's this foreclosure company that we would require foreclosures to register with them. They would get us the information. They actually monitor the foreclosures. When they register with us, the bank would register the foreclosure with us. We could charge them a fee, $200, $300. They keep their piece of it. It's money to us to help us maintain the property, although this company makes sure the property is maintained with code enforcement and everything. Free to us, totally free to us. The fee is on the bank, so we wouldn't have to worry about trying to collect money later on a water bill or keeping up the grass or anything like that. They said they're very successful. So I'll pass that information on to you guys, but it was really, really appealing.
Thank you. Tommy?
Well, along with all that information, I took actually a class with Michelle Obama's Let's Move program too, and I got more information that we could use for our get out and play days that we do and everything else. Try to get and keep people active.
Great. Carl, anything?
There has been a group that has formed over the last 6 months, a group of residents. They call themselves the Westchester Grassroots Gardening Club. And over the last few months, they have been meeting. And the reason why I bring this up is this weekend, well, prior to this weekend, as you may well know, every spring Oak Brook gets rid of their tulip bulbs that they have around the Oak Brook Shopping Mall. They do a big dump. I went with them one time, attempted to get tulip bulbs. They went multiple other times to get tulip bulbs. Over this last spring, the members of this group cleaned them, prepped them, and this last Saturday, we planted them. They were planted at our gateway signs. They were planted at the fountain over by the clock, as well as by the parking lot at Balmoral and Manheim. There is a planter box there. So we planted close to 1,000 bulbs that day. And hopefully we planted them deep enough that the squirrels won't get to them. And hopefully next spring we'll have the fruits of all our labor. I want to thank the Public Works people for helping us out with some of the equipment. They got us some dirt that we needed, so we can do everything. And like I said, it went very well. And like I said, hopefully next spring we'll see the fruits of our labor, as well as this group wants to do more. And they are planning over the winter months of having discussions with us about doing other projects, not including stuff at the Boulevard, but also at the median, as well as other projects. They are, like I said, they want to do things for the village. And like I said, this group is growing. And like I said, it's nice to see local residents wanting to do this. And it's been a pleasure to work with them. And I will continue to work with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Chief Carpino.
I'm sorry that the monthly report wasn't put out. It wasn't in the packet. It was distributed this evening. They're waiting for me to return from my vacation to proofread it. I always find one mistake. I found it, and we released the correct data today, and now the village president will find a mistake, so we're all good to go. I was going to talk about these crime prevention notices this evening. I was already out-trumped, so to speak, by Trustee Perry. He found one somewhere and brought it to the attention of the village manager, but the mayor had noticed an article, the village of LaGrange Park had a crime prevention notice that they were distributing through the community. My prior jobs in other communities, we had similar crime prevention notices in triplicate. We just kept it simple. Kind of tweaked it with the sergeants at a staff meeting a week ago, just had them available in the last week. Had another resident come to me today with one of them. It was hanging on his door in a business on 22nd Street. I was curious as to what it was. So in addition to our foot patrols and going through the neighborhoods and leaving notices from time to time if we're on a call, an alarm, call for service, our officers on midnights now are physically walking some of the strip malls within the village and then leaving a notice at the time that they were there, say 1:30 in the morning, to show that they were out and about under other, just writing it down that they were doing a premise check. So this is just a PR thing. It's got our phone number, the officer's number at the bottom. It's logging activity, so every time they generate one of these, they call in and they blotter it on a computer so we could track it back. So if the person for some reason calls and says, you know, I want a little more information, there's an event number, so we're tracking all these as well. So it's like the mayor brought up, Chief Rampa was doing a similar program in LaGrange Park. So for a nominal fee, with all the bad press right now, the police are nationwide and all the controversy that's going on, this is a good positive tool to distribute within the village. So
Thank you.
like I say, it's already been noticed by Someone that came to my office today was concerned it had something to do with something Melissa's working on. Thought this was like a coupon for a notice of something. No, this is just a positive notice that we're out doing our jobs. I talked to the village manager, and I'll discuss something under other business on the cow related to an email that you all received yesterday. So at that point, I'll discuss a little more about conversation I had with legal counsel through Storino's office, Storino, Romel, and Durkin. And I think that's about it for right now.
Great. Thanks, Chief. Jimmy?
Once again, you notice the fire engines outside of Station 2. Our floors have begun to be refinished. Actually, they're being a smaller station, they're actually probably going to knock it out a little quicker than the Station 1. If you guys have seen the one at Station 1 here, the floors at Station 1 they actually turned out really good. Going with the same color and everything, same finish. So that's going to be a great improvement for that floor, because that floor had been previously hasn't been finished longer than Station 1. So it's been at least 25 years or longer since that station's been finished. So that'll be wrapped up by the end of the week. Also, currently this week 2 days, next week 3 days, I'm attending a state certified public fire and life safety educator class. I had mentioned to the mayor, somebody he actually went to high school with is teaching the class. Marcia Giesler is her married name, but Marcia Pageant, I guess, was her maiden name. But she's really hot and heavy in the public education for fire prevention and injury prevention. It's actually been really informative, a lot of good contacts. One of my 7G guys has gone to this class, so I'm going to be working with him to try to get some new programs going in town, not just for the kids, but for the elderly to do some fall prevention and things like that. So there should be some good things coming out of that over the next year or so. Also, end of October, attended an IRMA Risk Management Educational Summit, which is it's their second one they've had. A lot of good information about just risk management issues and things like that. Actually, our Public Works won a lift gate assist device in one of the raffles that I delivered to them last week. So hopefully keep any back injuries from happening on any of the heavy lift gates. So also a couple things. Been working on McGrath study stuff. We've been increasing our training hours and tracking and instituting additional training to keep those hours up. We've brought up a couple firefighters per shift up to the expectations where they need to be at this point of the year, with a couple others that aren't too far behind. So hopefully we'll get everybody up to snuff as far as training goes, which meets the ISO requirements and IDO requirements as well. Continue to meet with the officers on a monthly basis for information, departmental information and different policies that we're working on. And it also is a fire department safety committee. Been working with the officers on better training and public education, documentation and reporting. That's something in the past we've kind of just written it on a piece of paper. That we're getting more into in the firehouse, document it a little bit better, so when we pull our numbers, one, it makes it easier, two, it tracks our hours a little bit better. And then we've also increased our in-company inspections and continue to do our pre-planning program per the recommendations of McGrath. So we're moving along with things of that nature. There were a lot of recommendations, so one step at a time, and we'll progress and get better as we go here. So.
Great. Thank you, Jimmy. Maureen?
The finance department, we've been working on continuing to update the utility billing system to convert to monthly billing. Everything seems to be on schedule right now, but they are working feverishly. They have to touch each account individually to update once the connection is put on the home. So there's a total of 7,254 records that they have to go in and touch. So I'm quite busy right now, and we're filling in all these places we think we get the numbers before the year end. I'll be talking more about the
Thank you. Gregory?
Just a piece of information on the special event area, December, just want to say the date for the time being, I'll have more information for next meeting. But December 2nd and 3rd, at the park is going to be the Christmas holiday event, 6:30 to 8:30 each of those days. Those of you who haven't been there, in the past we've had Mrs. Claus there, special guest.
Real Mrs. Claus?
Claus at the
Oh my God.
halfway point for work carriage. Again, I'll have more information by the next meeting. Earlier today, I went with Frank Esposito and we met with the radio network group that shares the police radio. They're very familiar with it, Net 17. I hope I'm not going to talk too technical on this, but initially it was brought up that there were some concerns of safety on the town's had. They met with, they brought us all together at Hillside. I was unaware until the last minute that Chicago Communications was also going to be there, AT&T was there, discussing some of those safety issues. One of the things that was discovered earlier in, I'm sorry, late last week was that they had some difficulties getting some parts. Decision was made to buy brand new parts, cost a couple $100 per agency. But one thing that was being discussed during that is the need to exit the Network 17 radio frequency by 2021 by FCC rules. Of course, that's a little ways away, but just something that wanted to explain that the village has spoken to our grant writer to attempt to get some very expensive radios. The fire department received that grant about 2 years ago, received the Apex radios that are about $6,500 a piece. We've been on a waiting list in Cook County for a couple of years now. Cook County stopped the program. The USC grant that was funding the entire program was put on hold due to funding issues. It was presented to us today that that grant may be coming back soon. So I placed a call into Cook County's Department of Homeland Security group that's handling this. Asked again to make sure that we're on this list, to make sure that we will be considered for this very expensive radio program. To hopefully, again, as Trustee Stafford said, we can get them for free. I believe it was a 100% grant that you received, correct? Or was it 90%?
Ours was AMG grant, so it was 5%.
So, I mean,
5% on us.
but again, these radios, what would actually happen, and again, not to get too technical on this, but it would eliminate the need for the maintenance that we currently have in this network. We would then go on to a county radio band. We wouldn't necessarily be sharing the frequency with the Cook County agencies, but we would be able to create a network that the 6 towns that currently use the radio band locally and not have to have the infrastructure that we have currently with our antenna here. They've already got an infrastructure in place that the Department of Homeland Security has built up the county, Lake County, DuPage County, for this entire area, all the way down to Champaign. So in the future, hopefully, I'll come back with some good news with regards to a grant to avoid the $70,000 or $80,000 that would be required to do this. So in the future, again, free is what we would like to be doing here. Not to take that from any local funds.
Is the 470 frequency going to be gone, or you're going to an 800 level, or?
Correct. We would have to go to an 800 level based on FCC rulings that, I should say, FCC regulations or determinations a few years ago. The 400 megahertz frequency, which is what the police use, will suit the needs of other technological advances in the future. There's been discussion of using that for a large-scale Wi-Fi program throughout the larger metropolitan areas. As an example, Sears Tower would use our frequency, for example, hypothetically our frequency, and be able to provide Wi-Fi for the entire city of Chicago and metropolitan areas using those frequencies.
Off to 470 or to 400?
That's what they're hoping to do. Those were the old television station frequencies as well as public safety. But all of public safety has to be off in 2021. And according to Chicago Communications, you remember Barb, she was there as well with is there, and his estimation is this may be pushed back 1 or 2 years, but not much longer, because that they are trying to put together what uses will be made of.
Well, if you can recall, when the Department of Homeland Security did a presentation here not too long ago, sometime last year, they talked about the refarming and basically that we would have to be moving off the frequency that we were to an upgraded one sometime in the future. I don't know if they had dates at that particular time.
Yes, that was discussed, as well as the emergency network that they're planning to put together, which would be a cell phone-based data and voice coverage that would piggyback onto, let's say, a cellular tower that is in town, allowing us emergency communications for the village, police, fire, and any of our public services that would extend beyond what current capacity has for the private sector.
Now, with us belonging to Norcom, certainly they would have to upgrade their equipment as well
Correct.
to,
They're well aware of that.
to
They were
receive that as well.
in attendance at this meeting as well. And they know that they're gonna have to upgrade their equipment. Their upgrade isn't actually gonna be that difficult, because they just need to put one piece in place to make the jump to the 800 frequency. But,
So our costs are basically going to be in the portable radio realm.
and potentially, mobile radio, and that's.
Yeah, in the car
still up
radio.
for discussion. Some of the other towns received a few numbers, a small number of radio in the grant process. Broadview is one of them. Hillside received a few of them for their investigative units, which currently use the 400 on one end of it, but they have the ability so that when all 6 towns here, if we decide to stay together on the same frequency, and you were here for, when that all began, I believe.
1975.
75?
75 it started.
When, you know, prior to that was 20-some towns, I think.
It was 17
okay.
back in the day.
I don't remember the exact number, wasn't here for that, but yes, I do recall reading some of the documentation on the need for that. So if we decide to stay on the same networks, that's going to be how it happens.
Okay, great.
And if anyone ever has any questions on any of that, I know I'm bored everybody with technology. That stuff, but questions on that, that realm, and again, if I come across the information with regard to the grants, speaking to our grant writer as well as the county director, I'll bring that information forward.
Thank you, Gregory. Robert?
Just wanted to make the board aware that we begin to receive some preliminary data from the water sewer rate study. The consultant will be at our next meeting, the 24th of November, to discuss that rate study. Wanted to just very briefly cover some of the highlights and remind you why we initiated the study. First, we have some major infrastructure needs coming up in the future, and every town is going to be faced with the aging infrastructure and how we would financially plan for and handle the replacement of infrastructure. It's going to be a difficult issue to face. And also, staff wants to look forward and be proactive and give the village a start at preparing for that financial future. We also wanted to focus on residents paying an equitable and fair share in their water and sewer bill. And to that end, one of the goals of the study was to look at the potential elimination of the minimum use charge. So they're looking at all these things. They're going to bring some information back. The consultant will have the details. We really also need to prepare a utility financial plan. There's a lot of talk about the IEPA requiring that as a prerequisite for getting any state revolving funds. The state revolving funds are low interest loans we get for water and sewer projects. And there's been a lot of discussion about making towns have a financial plan. So this would fall into that, and if in the future they require that, getting an EPA loan could potentially be in jeopardy. And it's likely, from some of the articles I've read, that some of the financial institutions could link it to your bond rating, having a financial plan for your utility. It's not yet, but certainly having a financial plan for the utility is a good thing. So part of the study is a long-range look at where the rates are going and what larger cost we have ahead. What the data says is that in the immediate future, our expenditures will exceed our revenues, and we'll begin to consume our reserve funds if rates don't increase. They'll have more data on when and how much when that consultant comes. While our utility rates have increased every year, the village has not passed a rate increase on to its citizens since I believe it's 2009. So we've held fast for our own needs, but our costs have increased every year. So I just want to give you some highlights of what that study is going to say, and the consultant will be here on the 24th.
Just to clarify, with the rates not increasing, the only thing that we have increased the rates for is the pass-through cost of the increase in the Chicago water rates over the last few years.
Yeah, it's been about almost 95% increase over, it was a 25 and then about 4.15s in the game. If you look at what we've been doing in the water agency as well, something similar, you know, Chicago passed a 15% increase. We looked at that number and figured out in real dollars it would be about 12%, and that's about what we've been passing on other than when the 25 hit. So the city's gathering 3% more than we were on different factors. So
Yeah, we've not built any administrative charge over and above the direct pass-through from City of Chicago, so.
And you got to remember, as a village of Westchester, that the transmission main from the 10th Avenue station to Crestwood and other parts is our maintenance. And in the event that pipe would break somewhere along Roosevelt Road, we're repairing Roosevelt Road in the village of Broadview as well. So that is our responsibility. There's two transmission lines that come out of 10th Avenue. One goes to the Broadview Water Tower, and one comes down Roosevelt Road on the south side of the Roosevelt Road Bridge, and then along the way to the Boulevard and Crestwood Station as well. That's why you see the yellow hydrants over by Frankie's place. That's transmission main there, high pressure, et cetera. So, you know, we have to think about that. Those were put in place long time ago. And, you know, as an agency, we look at river crossings, which we're very concerned about in the Des Plaines River, that we have our waters crossing underneath the Des Plaines River. And there's 4 valves there, 2 work and 2 don't work. And, of course, they're on, you know, we don't have 2 working ones on one line. And we're unable to exercise them properly as they're in the roadway of the Eisenhower Expressway. And with the Eisenhower being rebuilt, and quite possibly that line may have to be relocated. Certainly we're going to count on IDOT to pay for some of that, but you know, that's the future world. But we certainly on the water agency worry about any particular breakage in the lines that are underneath the Des Plaines River, as we all should be. So it's a constant concern for the agency board. So, great. Anything else? Update on Carlisle?
The 42-inch transmission main is in. We've got both structures in and in place and surveyed. The location looks good. So the pipe's in, and Berger is now working on the side streets, which was part of the change order number 2. So they're doing that work. Some of the required work that's in that change order looks like it's a little lighter than we thought. We're not having to do everything, so I'm hoping there's an actual reduction in the amount of money we have to spend, but it's small. They haven't requested a change in the schedule. They have put a second crew out, so I'm hopeful that in the next couple of weeks they're going to have the majority of the work done. Restoration and paving might have to wait till the spring, but they're trying to get all the sewer work in place, backfilled prior to Thanksgiving.
If they're not going to pave, how are we going to plow?
Could you say again?
If they're not going to pave, how are we going to plow the streets? Just salt them?
Well, we'll plow, and they'll have to maintain them. So one of the issues I have in front of them is, if you don't finish the paving, then you'll have to come out on a frequent basis on your nickel to fix these. And we're gonna call every week, that's what I told them. So it's in their best interest to finish it up, pave it whenever possible. We'll need to make a judgment call. We might need to pave in cold weather. We'll ask for a warranty on that work. So if it comes up because they paved because it's too cold, we'll have to work with them on getting it repaved. It's my hope to get all that finished. Not every asphalt plant closes because IDOT says they're not buying anymore. They do keep them open for small batch work, mostly private work that doesn't have to meet an IDOT requirement. So we could get some asphalt after most of them close down. I mean, some of them into December, depending on what's going on. Don't like to buy that stuff because it's placed out of season.
Right.
But my intent is to try to finish up those roads so they're passable, plowable.
Right. Well, I mean, my concern is, too, when we do plow, if we're plowing over that rock, I don't want to see it in somebody's front window either, you know?
Oh, yeah,
A car.
understood.
Well, yeah. Because we'll be paying all that as well.
Yes.
Well, and, you know, Janet and I were out riding around the other day, looking at trees, and we did have a conversation with George out there, the resident engineer, and he was indicating to us that they were getting ready to form the sidewalks and get that moving. So they were leveling the parkways, if any of you have been out there.
Yeah, I saw that.
You know, other than the intersections, Carlisle has been pretty well left intact, so to speak. So, you know, along Kensington, Mayfair and stuff like that, where they've had to cut out, they had an issue with water after the rain on Downing. They couldn't get further than maybe 30 or 40 feet south. But the pipe is functioning. So in the event that there would be a situation, hopefully not, that the 42 inch is ready to do whatever it has to do. So that's a good thing. So that's a positive toward this. Unfortunately, some time delays have caused it to be extended, so to speak. But I think they're moving in the right direction, and since the pipe is in and it's functional, you know, that's a positive as well. So cross our fingers that we get a little bit better weather or nice weather like we've had the last 2 weeks. We've been pretty lucky with that, and they've been able to get some stuff done in that regards. But I think once the sidewalks are in and the forms for the driveways and things of that nature, and hopefully they'll be able to get the black dirt in, that those people, the 11 homes there, will feel a little less tortured. But one of the things I wanted to mention, Robert, and I didn't get a chance to get to George, over where the creek attaches to Carlisle, where that first manhole is, I think they tore it up, but I wasn't sure. It looked like part of it was torn up. We had that little asphalt pull-off where we pulled the grate off. You know, I would prefer that to be done in concrete. And one of the reasons is, you know, we're constantly putting the dozer on top of that and lifting the manhole grates and things of that nature when we have to clean that. And I would prefer, like we did over, even if we have to do it, it's an apron, like we did over at the front of the pump station where we did that work ourselves and put the concrete piece there. That I think that over time that would be a better long life piece there instead of the asphalt that was Humpty Dumpty.
Do you want me to have the contractor place concrete in there? We can. I mean, we'd have to change the quantities in that contract. Or are you saying you want that done in-house?
Either way, whichever is going to be most cost effective. I mean, if they're pouring the concrete driveways along the way there, I mean, that's one more driveway. I mean,
Yeah, they're 50 feet away. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's the Mrs. Glorioso's family's home to the east. It's another driveway. And I would prefer that done in concrete than asphalt for longevity. So if that's not a big deal with the board, I think that should be appropriate.
Anybody have an issue with that?
Nope.
You know what I'm talking about, right,
Yeah,
guys?
exactly.
Okay.
I know exactly, yeah.
Yeah, you'd see it as part of a final balancing change order when we get all the numbers in.
Right, and
Right.
maybe they could even widen it a little bit and make it a little bit bigger than what we had there. I mean,
Sure.
Did we decide on placement of the sign? You're smirking at me because you know how I feel about it.
10900 block of Martindale,
Yeah.
Uh,
front yard.
We've had discussions, and what they said is, well, now that we know what you want on the sign, we'll make the sign, and when it's ready, we'll let you know. Some of the thoughts we've had, because mounting it on the south rim seems to be problematic, no matter where you put it. It's gonna be somebody's gotta look at it, and it is elevated from the road. So our current thoughts are, we would have it up on the rim, but in the northeast corner. So it's far enough back where if you're living on the south side of Carlisle, it's not right in your face. It's sort of blending into the background, but only the trees in the back. But still visible, you can see there's a sign there. If you want to read it, you can walk down there and take a gander at it.
So the northeast corner, so the Park District side of the,
No, it'd be on this side of the creek still.
Yeah, it'd be on the north rim of the reservoir as opposed to the south, but more to the east side.
Celeste, you have a suggestion of where it should be? I mean,
well, I'd like it a little smaller and it's pretty ugly. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to look down the street and see that big thing 10 feet in the air. Because it's already elevated there and it's gonna be 2 feet up from the ground and it's gonna be 4 feet high. So the thing's gonna be like 10 feet from the ground when you're standing there, you're looking at this gigantic,
We could
ugly
put
sign.
it by the pump station.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm ambivalent. Wherever you want to put it, put it. As long as it's there for the reason that if people want to call or whatever, we could put it outside
I mean, I
the
think it
pump
makes sense
station,
over there.
kind of where the light pole is that we installed by
Right.
the park. So leave it right there. There's a spot right there. Be perfect. You know, if it doesn't have to be on the other end, I mean, everybody's going to know if there's an issue, they're going to call here
Call us
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do. You
mean,
could tie it to the
nobody's looking
fence
down
for
the
all I
street.
care. I put it on the door, on the roof, who cares? So,
That would make me happy.
we're all here to make Celeste happy this
That would
evening,
make
so.
me happy. And I wouldn't have to hear from the whole block of Halifax.
So,
Very good.
sounds like a plan. Melissa?
I just have a couple things. We have a public hearing for Westchester Community Church coming up next Monday for their electronic sign. And there's also a public hearing the following Monday for a cell tower at Mayfair Park. And since Trustee Perry's not here, EDC had 2 people that came in and addressed the commission this past Monday. We had Colleen Mazuka from Triton College come in and talk about the different programs that they offer to businesses in the community. And then we also had Melissa Duff Brown from the Forest Park Small Business Development Center come in and talk to us about possibly being a speaker at one of our next lunch series. And the only other thing is we had 2 businesses that opened last month. We issued 177 permits, and it was about $1.6 million in construction value.
Melissa, regarding the cell tower application that the Park District, and I believe it was Verizon, but I'm not sure what cell company it was as far as Mayfair Park was concerned. Just to let the board know, and I know you sent it out, and I thank you very much, that the public notice went out. Did it go in the 250 circle, or did it go to where? How?
It was actually a bigger circle. It was 1,500 feet,
Oh, so it
From
was
the site.
1,500 feet from the location of
the pole.
the pole is going to be, so it probably went on Halifax, Beckett, I would think Lancaster, Raleigh, and things of that nature, Nelson Square, behind Divine Providence, et cetera, and on the Mayfair houses.
It may not have made it to Halifax and Beckett, because I believe, if I may be wrong, the location of the pole is going to be somewhat on the back side of the softball fields.
Right, and from the
It
picture
is
that I
on
saw,
the north side of the site.
it looked like it was going to be,
I think they're taking one of the light poles from the softball field, taking it down, putting their pole up, and then putting our lights back up. If, I may be wrong, but
No,
that's
you're
what I've heard.
so it kind of kitty corner to the parking lot at Divine Providence Church.
Correct.
Yes.
So around that, the rim around the back there.
Mm-hmm.
So the closest impacted people would be the homes
I may.
coming around on Nelson, all right? Nelson and, what is that? Nelson Square, something, yeah.
Yeah, and then Mayfair side.
And on the
whatever.
Mayfair side. But the closest ones would be
I think, if
right-
I'm,
right where the
correct.
home run softball would hit the houses.
Right, center field of the first field, basically.
Okay. Just to let you know, that notice did go out. I did receive a couple of emails, and Melissa sent the public notice information out to you. I did receive a email from someone that lived on Halifax, and I did send him the public notice. I didn't know if he was referring to that or not, but there will be a meeting on the 23rd before the Plan Commission. There may be a variation requested. I'm not sure at this point in time. Maybe Melissa would know that. If there would be, there would also be a hearing before the Zoning Board of Appeals, and then this would come to the village board for decision. So just
Right.
kind of let you know what the process is, and the people have been notified on that. There's been some questions regarding why not out at the Highlands, and why not on our water tower, and I've kind of indicated I don't know the whole ramification of it, but I'm sure it's a coverage issue where there's some dead spots and dark spots, and having it up at the water tower is not going to do it. There's always been some police issues, even back 20 years ago at 31st and Wolf, and if you noticed, if you go south of there, you kind of go in a valley as you're going to Ogden Avenue. If you should have to make a drive down there, been very spotty reception as well. And, you know, there's a lot of people that have gotten rid of their house phones and are now using exclusively cell phones and, you know, dialing 911 and being shipped all over creation. I know Greg and I have talked a number of times, even dialing 911 from St. Joseph's High School ends up going to the village of Hillside and has to be transferred to us. And that's happened on a number of occasions there as well. So I'm sure the whys and wherefores will be explored. So if you're available on the 23rd and want to get a leg up on the information, that's great, or see what the audience would generate. But apparently there are some dead spots there, and there may be some safety concerns that we would be looking at as well, as far as location and things of that nature. So just some information as well. So anything else, Melissa?
No, that's it.
Myself and Janet and Melissa attended a sustainability meeting today at Catherine Legge Lodge in Hinsdale, put on by the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. I have to say it's one of the better presentations that they've had in regards to stormwater management, telling you what they do at the district and what they're planning to do as far as their recovery efforts, and actually making money off biosolids, aka sludge. So, anyway, there has been a change in state law, just to let everyone know, and I'll pass this along to Tom, because I think it's important for the Park District as well, that there is a byproduct, I'll call it a fertilizer, that is allowed to be spread not only on residential homes, but it has been for a long time for park districts and municipal works. There's a Village of Oak Lawn won an award for the amount of use that they've been doing on golf courses and other places as well. This is a byproduct of what they produce at MWRD, and when you look at all the potential contaminants that have been extracted from this, this is far better than any manure byproduct that you commercially could buy at any one of the Home Depot type stores and that. So we need to maybe get along with Gary and see at the school district if they're interested in this. Hinsdale.
I personally use this stuff that you're talking about at my house.
Yeah.
I've gotten some of it.
From Hinsdale is using it. You know, we asked them today, what is the minimum that you could get? We're probably going to try it and put it here, put it by the fountain, and, you know, I don't know if Gary's interested as well.
Maybe. It has a odor to it after sometimes, just to
describe the
forewarn people.
But anyway, it's out there.
It is out there. I've
It
used
is
it.
out there?
We've, I've gotten 5-gallon buckets of it in the past.
So,
I think I may still have one in my
yeah.
garage if you guys want to use it.
Yeah, and they're trying to, and the way they were talking, that it had very little odor. There was some commentary that some of the users, there was an odor depending on moisture quality or some things of that nature, but they're certainly working on that. They're also going to do phosphorus recovery, and they're looking at getting foodstuffs, things from grocery stores, that old produce, stuff from the market, as that's probably the cleanest stuff, and put it in their aerators and system, and actually it's creating a methane gas that your house is 1,000 BTUs. The stuff that they're producing is, right now, it's 600 and going up. So they could be a producer of some type of methane gas that would be used to run the facilities. They are cleaning up their water. The water that gets processed is actually, it's not potable, but certainly it is, could be used for manufacturing and that, and they're doing a pilot program in the village of Stickney to actually put that water in a commercial venue to be used. So all these people are PhD engineers that presented today. There's actually a plant in my office that is growing out of the composting. One of the positive things today was we are able to get rid of our chips to MWRD. We have to drive them down to Willow Springs. John, you can, to their MWRD yard in Willow Springs, and they use the chips and they combine it with the composting and use this for the fertilization stuff that they have. So we made a contact there because I heard our chip distribution may be drying up shortly. You know, I asked them about leaves in that as well, so we'll follow up with that as well, because I told them we could give them plenty of leaves as well as a composting operation. So it was a very good meeting, I have to say. I was down at MWRD as a person who belongs to the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus Environmental Committee. Figure that one out with Barrett Peterson, who chairs that event. And there are some funding opportunities that I learned that MWRD has that we have applied for back in February of 15 when we had the flood meetings here. We gave them a sheet of wish lists, linings, the insurance for sanitary, and some other opportunities. They have some money for some overhead sewer replacements at 50%. Janet and I penned a letter in which we tendered to their David St. Pierre and Company this morning, kind of a wish list and actual how to apply for certain things. And part of that was also the Green Alley grant possibility. They talked about bioswales today and the construction of bioswales and the success that they've had in the city of Chicago along Ashland Avenue and Western, where in a 4-inch rainfall there were no backups, and they actually showed the sewer pipe that was underground there that had excess capacity that never was charged in a 4-inch rainfall over 24 hours. So those were some positives along the railroad right away by Troop Street and Cermak.
Have they been tracking at all, like how many of the rain barrels have been going out to, like the individual communities to see how many?
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually Oak Lawn was the winner with over 4,000. out today. We are hovering pretty close to 1,000, I would say.
We can still get them, right?
Yeah. We're hovering close to 1,000. I think in the newsletter we had about 6 something, but Gail's been sending them in every Friday. We send a list in. So we have to be pretty close to a G. So there are a number of them out there. They have 50,000 more coming next year as well, and they encourage that. One of the things that, Robert's talking about our water study and things of that nature. But, make no mistake, in 2014, the I&I report and the changes to the inflow and infiltration that our community as a separated sewer system has to do in a 5-year capital plan to get the clean water out of the sanitary that is in there, and that's why I asked for some lining for a number of feet on our mains and a number of feet on the laterals and some funding for that. But Robert is in the process of putting together a capital improvement plan. I got word today that some of the things that we've done in the past, our linings that we've done, will qualify for credit in the future, although they weren't done this year, but they were done in past, that we're able to get credit from that, and that was from the director himself. Robert's gathering some certification documents from those vendors, and we're going to be putting something together. This is one of the things you have to do, is remove I&I. I think Robert and I have communicated over the last couple of days, and we feel both very strongly that our I&I, which is, 1,000 times more than we're allowed right now? 10 times more than we're allowed right now as far as I&I. But it's still a considerable amount based on the numbers. I think we were 1,200 and we're supposed to be, billion. So I think the river crossings are the culprits. I've said that back in 2009 on this board. In the 3 crossings that we have on the south end of town, which is in the process of being, we have IEPA funding for that. We have to get moving on that to get that piece in. I think once that is in and the pipe is relocated and it's tightened up, I think that number is going to drop considerably. I also am certainly aware that the Gardner Road crossing is in a similar way, as that pipe is so full of water all the time that you could barely get a camera in there. And if you can recall the pump that we had underneath the Roosevelt Road Bridge in a dry summer, and we barely were able to get a look-see after a month of pumping straight 24/7 with a 6-inch feeder pipe, jacked over Gardner Road and bypassing the MWRD pump station. So I'm certain that creek crossing over the 60-year operation of it is probably leaking at some point in time. And I know MWRD is trying to do some flow monitoring there, but we do have a considerable amount of I&I that we need to remove from the waterways. So that's about all I have for this evening. If there's anything else, do we have an exec tonight, Janet?
Yes, we do.
For A, B, and C?
Yes.
Okay. Looks like we're going to have an exec after the committee of the whole for 5 Ilix 122C1. Discuss employment, appointment, compensation, discipline, performance, dismissal of specific employees. Under B, Ilix 122C2, collective bargaining. And under C, 5 Ilix 122C11, litigation when a legal action against, affecting, or on the behalf of a particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court of administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable and imminent. So with that, is there a motion and a second to adjourn our board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Tommy, Celeste. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, say no. We stand adjourned with our board meeting. Our next is